What started as a straightforward plea for a small fix quickly evolved into a captivating tale. A moment that would echo in the recesses of our thoughts. At 60, I discovered a life of calm and routine, a peaceful existence that enveloped me. Yet, beneath the surface, I had long suppressed a desire for something extraordinary, a yearning I hesitated to confront. When Julian entered my home that Wednesday afternoon, radiating youth and confidence, yet laced with a touch of nervousness, an unforeseen sensation awakened within me. What started as a seemingly innocent meeting quickly evolved into a tangled web of complexities that stirred the heart and ignited the senses. If this tale resonates with you, think about lending your support to the channel by liking and subscribing. Your support would be invaluable. A gentle press on that like button would be a charming expression of appreciation. What began as formal encounters gradually evolved, infused with an undeniable magnetism. As I journeyed into unknown realms, the line separating desire from obsession started to blur into an enticing mist. This unforeseen twist ignited feelings within me that I could no longer contain. For days, I was captivated by the dripping sink, the water gathering in the basin like a hidden secret yearning to be unveiled. It stood as a haunting echo of the disregard I had permitted to infiltrate the shadows of my existence. After years of investing my soul into my home, it all seemed empty without a kindred spirit to share its warmth and secrets with. The house, once alive with laughter and warmth, now stood too expansive after my separation, each room murmuring secrets of a past I yearned to leave behind. The kitchen, once a haven of warmth and connection, now sat in a quiet state of chaos. As the sink descended into a state of unbearable disarray, I felt an irresistible pull towards an action I had long refrained from undertaking. I sought help. I stumbled upon a delightful local handyman by the name of Julian. His name bore scant importance, serving only as a means to address the dilemma before them. I imagined a man rich in experience, maybe a touch rough around the edges and lacking polish. Instead, I opened the door to find a young man in his 20s standing before me. A toolbox in hand, he looked younger than I expected, his presence carrying a quiet confidence that unsettled my routine calm. His anxious smile held a subtle allure, an aspect of him that was surprisingly captivating. "Hello, I'm here to inspect the sink," he murmured, his voice soft and soothing, enveloping the moment in a sense of closeness. A sudden jolt surged within me, my heart faltering in its familiar cadence, as if ensnared in a fleeting instant reserved for hushed tones and secretive gazes. In truth, it was utterly absurd. At this point in my journey, I never anticipated feeling such exhilarating sensations once more, yet there it was, a spark of longing I hadn't encountered in years. "Step inside," I urged, striving to dispel the tension as I shifted to the side. I watched him move gracefully through the house, his gaze resting on the kitchen, where he became absorbed in his work with captivating intensity. He knelt by the sink, his hands moving over the pipes with a familiar elegance, a subtle closeness hanging in the atmosphere. I hesitated, pretending to be preoccupied, but my eyes were undeniably captivated by him. There was an irresistible charm in the manner of his labor, the strength in his limbs and the fervor carved into his countenance. It had been an eternity since I found myself so close to a young man. And only now did I start to contemplate the potential that this moment might unveil. A mysterious transformation surged within me, igniting long-buried yearnings that I had kept in the shadows. Beyond mere looks, Julian held a compelling magnetism, radiating a charm that was both untamed and enchanting. His presence wrapped around me like a warm embrace, kindling a spark that I found utterly irresistible. His vibrant energy contrasted sharply with the tranquil life I had come to embrace. He exuded a warmth that awakened emotions within me, sentiments I believed had long been entombed. We stood close in the small kitchen space, an unexpected stillness settling between us, my eyes fixed on him with a fervor that was both exhilarating and taboo. The robe, once merely a piece of fabric, now embraced me in a manner that awakened unfamiliar feelings, urging me to shift it as I endeavored to dispel the alluring thoughts that twirled through my consciousness. Julian's gaze locked onto mine, a spark igniting in the electric stillness that enveloped us. The sparkle of surprise flickered in his eyes, locking onto mine for a fleeting moment before he shifted his attention back to the sink. An unspoken tension lingering in the space between us. His cheeks flushed ever so slightly, sparking a thrill within me at the sight of his response. In that ephemeral instant, a torrent of feelings surged through me, stirring long-buried desires, concealed from the illuminating rays of daylight. I watched him labor with unwavering dedication, admiring his concentration and expertise. He focused intently on his task, but an unmistakable tension lingered in the way his hands moved, as if he sensed the weight of my gaze upon him. Is all unfolding harmoniously in that personal sphere? I asked, my voice a soft murmur, more delicate than I had intended. He tilted his head, his eyes drifting to a distant point. Truly, merely a gentle stream. It shall be resolved in no time. Merely a fleeting moment away. Compelled by an irresistible charm, I allowed my fingers to lightly brush against his shoulder. His body tightened under my fingers, and a rush of excitement surged within me. Aware of the influence I wielded over him, the sensation was intoxicating, a feeling that had slipped through my fingers for years, and I found myself reluctant to let it go. You possess quite the formidable presence, I observed, my tone infused with a teasing charm. He looked up, surprised, his cheeks flushing as a wave of warmth washed over him. Thank you, he replied, a trace of shyness coloring his tone. I bestowed upon him a soft, intimate smile. Sensing the electric ambiance surrounding us, he composed himself, attempting to maintain an air of professionalism, but the slight tremor in his hands as he fastened the final bolt betrayed a more profound, unvoiced tension lingering between us. I edged nearer, my eyes locked onto him as he carried out his work. Do you need any help? I asked, keenly conscious of the depths hidden below. He quickly turned away, focused on collecting his tools, but his hands shook with a silent anxiety. Once again, I extended my hand, letting my fingers trace along his arm, relishing the warmth of his skin under my soft touch. He remained motionless, his form rigid, and I could sense the turmoil churning in his eyes. A flicker of longing ignited within him, a quiet recognition of allure, yet a profound instinct beckoned him to hold back. He possessed a certain youthfulness, and I ought to have been more prudent. Yet in that ephemeral instant, nothing else appeared to matter. My hand rested momentarily on his arm, an unvoiced connection lingering in the air between us. He looked at me, his breath catching for a brief moment before he pulled back, breaking the fragile quiet that surrounded us. He murmured, his voice quivering with an unvoiced tension, I'm just here to take care of the sink. A soft smile played upon my lips, savoring the sight of his cheeks blooming with a rosy hue of embarrassment. I chuckled softly and responded, thank you for tending to the sink, it truly means a great deal to me. He lingered, a glimmer of doubt dancing in his gaze, caught in the tension between the temptation to stay and the urge to leave. His hands trembled ever so slightly as he finished the task of packing his tools, and I could feel the inner turmoil raging within him. I approached, my lips nearly grazing his ear. I smiled and remarked, I may soon require your expertise for another matter. He stood there, a figure frozen in time, his eyes fixed with a depth of emotion that conveyed more than words ever could. I moved a little closer, unsure whether to speak or let the silence convey what words could not. Yet he gently stepped back, a quiet tension in the air as if unsure of how to respond. I can't, he murmured, a hint of longing in his voice as he shook his head, the weight of unspoken desires hanging in the air between them. I truly find myself unable to do so. A delicate pang of yearning enveloped me, yet I recognized that he was not prepared to yield at this moment. He rushed out of the house, abandoning me to the quiet solitude that enveloped the space. Yet the way he left hung in the atmosphere, not just awkward, but imbued with a disquieting feeling of incompleteness, a narrative left unwritten, and I realized that beneath his words, it wasn't a lack of interest that restrained him, rather, it was his uncertainty in resisting the seductive pull of temptation. The ensuing days were immersed in a captivating mix of excitement and yearning. Julian occupied my mind entirely, his pauses lingering in the air, the intensity of his gaze ensnaring me in its grip. It had been an eternity since I had encountered such emotions, since I had genuinely felt anything profound within me. Yet here was this young man, stirring a longing that I thought had long since slipped into the shadows of my past. Destiny has a knack for orchestrating unforeseen meetings, and I had come to accept that our journeys would remain forever apart. However, a week later, the stillness was shattered by the sound of my phone, and as I answered, it was Julian's voice that ignited a rush of excitement within me. "Greetings, it's Julian the plumber," he gently disclosed. I felt compelled to check on the sink's condition, as memories of our shared moments in that space linger in my mind. Did the resolution withstand the test of time? His voice exuded a polished blend of courtesy and expertise. Still, I sensed the faint quiver of anxiety hiding just out of sight. "How delightful that you would mention that," I responded with a touch of whimsical curiosity. "The sink is in excellent condition, but there is another issue in the bathroom that I would appreciate your attention to. It might appear insignificant, yet there exists a unique solace in allowing an expert to examine the details more closely. Don't you think?" After a prolonged pause of uncertainty, he ultimately conceded, "I shall make my arrival in roughly an hour's time." As he stepped through the door, the tension inside him surged, becoming undeniably tangible. He struggled to maintain his composure, but the tension in his body revealed the tempest swirling just out of sight. I led him up the stairs to the bathroom, where the problem turned out to be nothing more than a loose faucet handle. Yet, beneath the surface, I realized it was not the faucet that had beckoned him to return to me. While he labored, I remained in quietude, the atmosphere thick with a palpable tension that hung between us. He fought to keep his focus, but I could feel his acute awareness of my presence, of the alluring space that separated us. Finally, I yielded to the desire that had been swelling inside me. "Julian," I whispered, stepping closer, "you've occupied my thoughts of late." He hesitated, his grip on the faucet growing firmer, his breath quickening just a touch. He possessed a delicate hesitation, his voice wavering, as if ensnared in a web of unspoken desires, uncertain of how to traverse the fragile moment that lay between them. The echoes of our final meeting linger in my mind, refusing to fade away, I admitted, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper. "Your curiosity was evident, but you opted to hold back. What circumstances might have converged to bring about that moment?" He paused, his hand resting on the faucet, but the storm in his eyes conveyed a depth of emotion that words could not capture. "I'm a professional," he finally murmured, his voice a tantalizing whisper that lingered in the air between them. "It may be deemed inappropriate, yet can it genuinely be classified as an error?" I asked, my voice soft and welcoming. In our journey as two mature individuals, we discover that the most meaningful connections often emerge from the most unexpected situations. His eyes met mine, filled with an enticing intensity. He fought against the magnetic pull, striving to maintain that facade of professionalism, yet the charged atmosphere between them was unmistakable. An instant of silent comprehension lingered in the air between us. He paused, inching forward, his face a canvas of turmoil and genuine intent. It was a realm distinct from the tentative kiss that had preceded it. This moment pulsed with urgency, laden with the unvoiced yearnings we had long concealed. His lips beckoned with a compelling urgency, and I responded to his passion, my fingers threading through his hair, pulling him closer. The yearning was overwhelming, the silent bond between us finally emerging as we yielded to the deep-seated emotions that had quietly resided in the darkness. An unexpected connection blossomed between us, an unvoiced bond neither of us had foreseen. In that suspended moment, his hand briefly met mine, a subtle exchange that stirred emotions I hadn't felt in years. In that instant, every shred of uncertainty vanished, revealing a deep bond that intertwined our souls. The ensuing moments unfolded in a blur of emotion and yearning, a delicate interplay of longing and closeness. Julian's touch was a delicate yet commanding force, his hands exploring and claiming me in ways I had long since buried in memory. There was no shame or guilt, only the raw, unrestrained power of our feelings. The connection was deep and instinctive, rendering everything else irrelevant. In those moments, a flame flickered to life within me, stirring feelings I had long since buried. As we lay together, wrapped in the gentle warmth of the sheets, a smile blossomed on my lips, a quiet happiness exchanged between us, A surge of energy flowed within me, stirring feelings I hadn't felt in a long time. The stillness surrounding us was not merely a void, it was akin to a gentle embrace. A clandestine bond that enriched our relationship. It seemed we had embarked on a journey into unknown lands, a domain we had yet to recognize. Still, neither of us harbored any regret for our audacious adventure. "I've never done anything like this," Julian murmured, his voice low and husky as he reclined beside me, his fingers tracing languid circles on my arm. "Neither have I confessed gently." My own voice equally subdued. Julian turned to face me, his expression soft, filled with an unforeseen richness, a trace of vulnerability that awakened something deep inside me. "I realize I shouldn't have crossed this line," he murmured, disbelief lacing his voice. "Yet I find it impossible to feel regret." My fingers lingered on his chest, following the steady beat of his heart, a quiet bond that conveyed so much without words. "Neither do I replied softly, a trace of yearning lacing my words. We remained in that moment, each of us wrapped in our own thoughts, the atmosphere heavy with unvoiced longings. The weight of our collective experience hung in the atmosphere, imbued with an unexpected sense of intimacy. We both understood we had stepped into unknown realms, yet an unvoiced accord lingered between us, assuring that we were entirely at ease with it. Finally, Julian lifted himself, his eyes wandering to the clock, a quiet observer of the relentless march of time. "I really ought to leave," he murmured, his words tinged with a subtle yearning. "My stay here has extended far beyond what I originally planned." "You needn't feel obligated," I murmured, fully aware that his departure was inevitable. He hesitated for a moment, his eyes revealing a yearning to stay. But in the end, he shook his head, caught in the struggle between desire and self-control. "I don't want things to be awkward," he murmured, his gaze lingering on mine. "I don't want you to believe I was merely smiling." A familiar warmth enveloped us, as we grasped the unvoiced intricacies of his words. "I do not," I gently reassured him. "Your essence, Julian, possesses a captivating depth that pulls me closer. Our souls longed for this connection, and I take comfort in how it blossomed between us. Yet I find myself not desiring anything more than the ephemeral moments we experienced together." His expression softened, a flicker of relief coursing through him, yet the persistent shadows of doubt lingered in his eyes. "Do you genuinely feel comfortable with everything that's unfolding? Do no peculiar feelings remain hidden just below the surface?" A soft chuckle escaped my lips, a smile dancing across my face as I shook my head in disbelief. "Not in the slightest, Julian. Let us maintain simplicity." It was a moment etched in memory, infused with a palpable tension that hung in the atmosphere, liberated from expectations and unencumbered by duty. He nodded, taking in the gravity of my words with an understanding look. After a brief pause, he responded with a measured tone. "Very well. It appears that our journeys will intertwine once more in the near future." "Maybe," I murmured with a hint of mischief, a grin flickering across my face. "Should my thoughts waver again, you will be the first I turn to." Her laughter twirled through the atmosphere, kindling a flame deep inside him. He stood, gathering his tools with a measured elegance, the burden of his bag pressing against him like a hidden truth yearning to be revealed. Just before he left, he threw a lingering look in my direction, a moment frozen in time. "Elena," he whispered, his voice soft yet sincere. "I harbor no regrets. I merely desire for you to grasp that." A smile danced upon my lips as I watched him softly ease the door open. "I share the same feeling." And in a heartbeat, he disappeared from my existence. The house wrapped around me in a suffocating silence once he had gone. The silence envelops me, a heavy and suffocating embrace. I stood in quiet contemplation, my eyes locked on the door, striving to decipher the tumult of feelings that had emerged. The thrill, the passion, the unmistakable connection that hung in the atmosphere. What once brimmed with vibrancy and life has now dulled into a poignant recollection, leaving behind only the whispers of what used to be. With a measured elegance, I made my way to the bedroom, a sense of anticipation hanging in the atmosphere. The vastness of the bed resonated with his absence, a chasm that murmured tales of yearning and passion. As I settled into the shadows, a murmur of uncertainty slithered through my thoughts, pondering if I had indeed crossed a boundary. Had I yielded to the profound depths of my yearnings? Had I yielded to the profound currents of my feelings with too much eagerness? Amidst the sorrow, I discovered comfort in the unwavering truth that I would change not a single instant. What I had confided in Julian stirred a yearning within me that had been asleep for years. It awakened in me the understanding that I was still alive to yearn, to encounter, to embrace the blaze of fervor. A profound sense of gratitude washed over me for that. As the days unfolded, they flowed seamlessly, my life returning to the comforting rhythm of a well-worn routine. Yet an unmistakable change hung in the atmosphere. Even in Julian's absence, the spark he kindled within me persisted, defiantly pushing back against the encroaching darkness. My mind often wandered to him, contemplating his actions and the feelings that swirled within him, even as I recognized that separating was the most prudent choice for our souls. The pang of longing remained, stubbornly clinging to the light. It resided deep within, an unquenchable longing that eluded my grasp. On a sweltering afternoon, as I rummaged through the dust-covered albums of my history, I came across a photograph of my younger self, stirring a wave of bittersweet nostalgia within me. I was vibrant, glowing, overflowing with fervor. I stared at it, striving to connect the distance between that woman and the individual I had become. For countless years, I dedicated myself to meeting the expectations of others. A committed partner, a caring presence, a symbol of steadfast responsibility. In the pursuit of that path, I discovered pieces of my very being gradually fading into the ether. Julian had awakened in me a deep desire, a craving for adventure, connection, and a glimpse of something that transcended the ordinary. As our journeys took different directions, a deep sense of gratitude remained for the brief but intense connection we had created. He had given me a token, a whisper of my vitality, a reminder that I still had the ability to feel profoundly. As the weeks elegantly transitioned into months, the yearning for Julian started to fade, akin to a faint murmur in the darkness. The longing occasionally emerged, though it became less insistent over time. Slowly, the emptiness inside me stirred, filled with a fresh, exhilarating feeling. Our bond had transformed into a transient refuge from the drudgery of daily existence. A soft murmur of the individual I could hold close when I summoned the courage to yield to my feelings. I had undergone a transformation. An unmistakable feeling flowed through my everyday life, a delicate interplay in my interactions with the world surrounding me. The solitude that once enveloped my home now seemed to caress me softly, transforming from a burdensome weight into a tender murmur. I had unearthed roots to reclaim my haven, to intricately rethread it into my personal tapestry once again. Once again, I felt the pull of familiar faces, welcomed the comforting embrace of a local book club, and rekindled my love for painting, activities I had previously put on hold, now reigniting a vibrant spark within me. I cherished Julian's memory, cradled in a secret corner of my heart, neither letting it overwhelm me nor dismissing it entirely. It intricately intertwined with the threads of my story, shaping the very core of my destined identity. On a warm evening, well after Julian had left, I sat on the back porch with a glass of wine, watching the sky transform into a canvas of vibrant sunset colors. The sky wore soft shades of pink and gold, while the air carried the enticing murmur of autumn's arrival. In that fleeting moment, a deep sense of fulfillment enveloped me, not just for the life I had carefully pieced together, but for the intricate weave of experiences that had defined my path. I allowed myself to fully experience a true feeling, however momentary it may have been. Julian slipped into my life like a soft murmur in the darkness. And just as quickly, he disappeared, leaving a lingering resonance of possibilities unfulfilled. Still, the mark he left endured. He confided in me that life does not have to follow a set path. And frequently, the most meaningful experiences emerge from the most surprising places. I relished another sip of wine, a mischievous smile playing on my lips as my mind drifted to the myriad of possibilities that awaited me. It was shrouded in uncertainty, without a doubt, yet, for the first time in what felt like an eternity, an exhilarating wave of bravery washed over me. I discovered a piece of my essence that I thought had faded into the darkness. And that realization, in itself, was deeply fulfilling. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I stood and elegantly withdrew indoors. the atmosphere heavy with unvoiced longings. The house radiated a welcoming warmth that enveloped you, coaxing you to stay just a bit longer, having evolved from a previously barren space into a cozy haven of closeness. It was now mine, a reflection of the individual I was becoming. As I quietly closed the door, a tender murmur of hope wrapped around me, awakening something profound inside. Regardless of what awaited me, an unmistakable power surged within, urging me to welcome every moment. I had already faced the most daunting moment, the poignant act of letting go.